Talk rubbish, boy. This is not the place nor the time.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. We are part of the Main Damien Network, and to find more from us, check out the website, themaindamien.com, or on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at themaindamien. We are also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me today is Dan Aquino. Say hello, Dan.
Hey, Ant. Good to have you back.
Yes, I went back and I listened to the episode you did without me, and some of the remarks that Mark had made him promptly fired. So he is not with us any longer.
It's surprising it took this long.
Now, Mark was feeling under the weather, so he told us to soldier on without him, and soldier on we will. But Dan, this week, I don't think we have anything to talk about in terms of movies we've watched, do we?
Not that I'm aware of. And we had a little lengthy discussion about something coming out. I don't want to talk about it.
Are you, of course, talking about Kong versus Godzilla or Godzilla versus Kong, whatever it's called?
Oh, that I can't wait for. That's the movie I'll care about the reviews about that. I think I told you the story where I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I'm walking into the theater wearing my Godzilla 1985 shirt, and this guy walks out and he says, turn around if I were you. No, man, nothing could stop me from seeing these movies. I know they're not going to be good movies. I don't go for good movies. I go for hot monster on monster action.
So is like now with everybody getting vaccines and stuff like that, things are opening back up. Are you hoping to see the new Godzilla Kong movie in theaters, or?
I'm 90% sure I'm going to go to the theater to see it. I'm asking around family members to see if they want to try to rent a theater, or if I'll just, I might just brave the apocalypse for this movie. If I'm going to go out, it's gonna be for this movie.
I wish I could say that I have a movie that's upcoming that I'm like, all right, that's the one. That's the one where I'm gonna brave the elements to go see it. There's nothing on the docket coming up that I'm just like, you know what? I can't not see that in theaters.
Yeah, I think, and again, if I were, God forbid, obviously, if I were to go out and they were this movie, I think a lot of people would probably question my intelligence. But yeah, I mean, this is something, we covered the 1964 King Kong vs. Godzilla on this podcast. Go check it out if you haven't. And you know how much I loved it. And the trailers have all pretty much given away the movie, but it looks really cool. I mean, both monsters look awesome. It looks like there's going to be a lot of fighting, and that's all I care about. So if someone wants to come with me and watch it, awesome. If not, I'll drag my wife to see it, and we'll go out together. I'm gonna have her buried at the foot of my coffin, just like Burns and Smithers.
Yeah, sure. There is one shitty thing that my wife has made me watch on Netflix. It's called Marriage or Mortgage. So it's sort of a combination of like House Hunters and Say Yes to the Dress.
Okay.
It is basically a real estate agent and a wedding planner in Nashville. They meet with a couple, and the couple has a certain amount of money to spend. And they can either spend it on a wedding or a down payment for a house.
I feel like that's an obvious answer.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yes.
The house, right? Down payment on the house.
But we're both married, so.
Yeah. Start your future, elope if you have to, and, put that investment towards an investment, not a party, essentially. However, most of these couples pick the wedding, and what's sort of hilarious for me, they must have shot this around February of 2020.
Okay.
So everybody that picks the wedding, it comes with a title card is like, due to COVID, they had to scale back their wedding.
Right. Yeah. There were so many upset brides in 2020, man.
Yeah.
I know a couple people that had to postpone their weddings.
Yeah. I know a few people. Yeah. And for those people, my heart goes out to them. But the people that chose that over a house and then they get fucked like that, that's kind of funny to me.
Right. That's so like prophetic, right? Yeah. I love it because my wife and I, we got into the argument like every now and then I would bring up, well, we could have an extra X amount of money, but someone had to get married. And then it never ends well for me. So don't do that, guys.
Yeah, that's usually probably not a great way to start off the morning. It's like the first thing you say to her on a Saturday morning. It's like, oh, great, this is what my weekend is.
Yeah. Like, oh, I wish we could go out for breakfast, but we had to go and get married. No, it's I'll never understand it. I think if you had a low key wedding, it's just as effective as having a grand wedding.
Yeah. And I had a great time at your wedding. I had a great time at my wedding.
Yeah, I think both weddings were phenomenal.
Yeah. But if you're like, if it's gun to your head time, which essentially this show is, I guess, you pick the house. Especially when these people are talking about, oh, it's my dream house. It's like, idiot.
Right. Now, is there kind of a level of privilege with a lot of these people?
They seem to, I mean, they're talking about like $450,000 houses a lot of the time, but like the down payments are like 6% down or so. So right. I don't really know. Like they're really nice houses, so I don't really know where they're coming from in terms of that. It is Nashville, so they're buying their $450,000 is getting them like 3,500 square feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably like a mansion up in the Northeast.
Yeah. So that's the shitty thing I've been watching.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean we're really just still working on getting this house into livable shape. So it's like every night it's like, well, let's put this together, and then the next night it's let's go put this together.
It's just assembly time at the Del Vecchios.
Exactly. So I think we've more or less gotten ahead of everything. We still have to put a chicken coop together. We're not going to get into that on the podcast. That's in time. We got a couple of like outdoor furniture pieces that were broken when they got delivered, so we have to wait for the replacement pieces. So we put those together. But the stationary bike is together. The bookshelf is together. We're getting there. we're getting there.
Okay. Well, real quick, I have something, just like a real quick topic, and this is something we spoke about in brief a couple of days ago. Since we're talking about, like, since we're kind of nearing the end of the pandemic, hopefully people are getting vaccinated. What was one thing that was kind of ruined for you during the pandemic? Or, like, what's one thing that just, like, you saw over and over again, you were like, I don't need to see this anymore?
That's a good question. Wow. I don't know what the answer to that question is. Where are you coming from with that?
Well, the reason I brought it up is because I think I talked to the group about this, where I said Seth Rogen's vase making.
Okay.
Where it was just like every day it was like a new vase was made, a new vase. However you pronounce it, new vase. Like, here's a vase that I made, and it's like, oh, that's cool. But then, like, day 50, like, oh my God, this guy must be like drowning in weed and vases. It's kind of creepy, man.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say, because I would say that I probably come from a privilege and aspect of that. My life, for the most part, and maybe you feel the same way, didn't really change as much as some other people's lives have changed. We can't go out to eat, which is something that, me and my wife liked to do ever so often on occasion. And that kind of sucks. So we've been ordering out, which isn't quite the same. But that's really it. It's like, I don't hate working from home. I mean, I'm working from home. I don't hate it.
Right. No, I don't think the only thing that changed was going to the movies. That was it.
I do miss that.
You and I would go, not together, but we would go like every weekend.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was unemployed. I got laid off right before it. So I wound up, the one thing is I did get into a routine of going to the gym at least 4 times a week, which was nice. Finally got into it. And then the movies, I'd go like Friday mornings. I'd go to the movies on Friday morning and then have the rest of the day to myself. So yeah, those were 2 things that I do miss that were affected by COVID. But yeah, but otherwise my wife is here with me. So I'm one of those people that don't, I'm not sitting in my house alone by myself, which is unfortunately a lot of people can't say that. People in urban areas are probably feel more stuck in their houses than people like us. So I really can't say that this pandemic was that much of an inconvenience to me, besides not getting to go to the movies.
I found myself the other day, because traffic has started to build up a little bit. I found myself saying, like, God damn it, this sucks. I wish it would go back. And I was like, wow, that's bad. Like, because I enjoyed, there was like no traffic. Now all of a sudden there's traffic. Sons of bitches, stay home.
Yeah, I will say that it's been. I wish I could see my parents more.
Yeah,
one thing.
That makes for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's all we're going to talk about top of the show. So we're going to take a quick break, listen to some ads, and then we'll be right back with this week's movie. So we'll be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into this week's movie. And this week was my pick. And those are always interesting. So this week, I was hearing and reading a lot of things online by people that like shitty movies. And I've heard of this one movie. And that movie is Cruel Jaws. And I, as well as Dan, is a huge fan of Jaws. So this one kind of stuck out to me. And it did not disappoint whatsoever as far as I'm concerned. So, Dan, I want to go to you. Where are you coming from with Cruel Jaws?
I think this is the first movie that confused me, because there are parts that I really like, and then there are parts I really hate. So I don't know whether I'm coming or I'm going with this movie. Clearly, it rips off of Jaws.
Yes.
Super clearly. And there are just some really funny B stories, B plots that lead nowhere, which are great. It's because it's just like, it makes no sense. It doesn't forward anything, and it doesn't really tell you too much about the characters. But it knows that it's ripping off of Jaws.
Yep.
But then sometimes it's like it's trying to be serious, which is a detriment to it. That's not, like, I don't understand how to feel. Tell me what to feel, movie.
Yeah. All I know is it rips off Jaws so much that Peter Benchley gets a story by credit.
Did he?
Yes, he does.
Well, there is, and we were talking about this before, there's a scene in this movie, or a couple scenes in this movie, that are ripped from the book, where the mayor is pretty much being pressured by the mafia
right.
to keep the to keep Amity, or I'm just going to say Amity because that's what it is, to keep it open. So that's why the mayor is such a prick. So I guess that's why maybe he gets the credit.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just like it was like, we're gonna sue your ass if you don't. The guy in here is not the mayor, but he's like the richest guy in town. Basically, he owns everything. Because there is a mayor in this that's his like lackey. Basically, he basically owns the mayor. This movie is wild. This movie is like just pedal to the metal for 80% of it. It wastes no time. Like if those couple of seconds that make a cut to the next scene feel like a normal cut, this movie does not have that.
I actually think I wrote that. Did I write it? I thought I did. Like, terrible editing between shark footage and movie footage. This is how bad this movie was. I actually took notes. I never take notes.
There are several scenes where like the cut steps on the toes of the last piece of dialogue said in the previous scene. It's just like end of line and then bam, new scene. And then a new person talking about something that's completely not related to the thing before it. It's great. We get Hulk Hogan's stunt double as the male lead, more or less, or like second lead.
That's the other thing. Who's the lead? We don't know.
Right. It's Billy, but Greg Hood is like 7th listed in the credits.
One of my favorite scenes in this movie is it's early on. Dag, the cop.
No. Dag is Hulk Hogan.
Oh, is he Hulk Hogan? All right, who's the cop?
Francis.
Okay, so the cop comes to shut down the amusement park, right? The SeaWorld. The aquarium.
Yeah, the backyard aquarium.
Yes, he comes to shut it down, and you would think the reaction would be anger, but everyone's like really chummy with the officer shutting them down.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, how you doing, Francis? Oh, hey, how's so-and-so doing? Like, well, wait a minute. This guy's telling you have to pack up and go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a transition between he's like, sorry, man, I got to shut you down. Like, well, you've always been good to us. It's going to be tough. And then the cop's just like, hey, Billy, you're back.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Did we miss something here? I don't know what happened.
There's a weird transition there, and it happens right after, I think it's Larry is his name, threatens to rip Sam Lewis's balls off for the first time.
And that's kind of the issue with this movie. When it's ripping off of Jaws, it's obviously competent, but when it tries to go off on its own, it's batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. It's very chaotic, especially the second half of this movie. Mm-hmm. There's just so many things happening. I will say that there is a pretty good... The regatta scene, the shark attack, is not bad. It's effective.
That's when there's probably the most kills in the movie, right? There's like 3 or 4 kills in a row.
Yeah, and that's crazy. That you can't tell what the fuck's going on there.
That's what like should have happened in the Meg. Do you remember the Meg?
Mm-hmm.
When the giant fucking shark invades, I guess, Spring Break.
Yeah.
And kills nobody.
Definitely the best Spring Break scene is still Piranha 3D, right?
Piranha 3D, absolutely. We saw that in theaters, I think.
We did.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that has an impressive body count. Even this movie had a pretty decent body count, more than Jaws did.
Yeah, you just don't get to see a whole lot of it. That's the thing. Right. You get a few, but like this movie's wild. Like they introduce the 2 biggest buffoon mob enforcers ever, like a greaser and a Jimmy Buffett fan. There's so many moments in this movie.
But one of my favorite things, so for those who have seen Jaws, the whole shtick of the mayor is that you can't prove that it's a great white shark or it's a killer shark, right? Mm-hmm. They tried to do it in this movie, but everything that happens is so clearly the work of a shark. It's like, how could you deny this stuff? They really bend over backwards. Like, no, definitely not a shark. Like even the beginning, right? Like the surfer shows up. Like, oh, like what was it? They pretty much do the autopsy on the beach. Like, oh, it's a shark, for sure a shark. And the mayor's like, yeah, that's definitely a shark. And then they say, oh well, could have been anything. Like, oh well, a propeller wouldn't do that. Okay, I guess, but it's clearly a shark, man. Clearly a shark. And someone takes a huge chunk out of a boat. Sharks don't do that. Oh, come on. You're really stretching there, man.
There's a moment in this movie that I thought we were going to get a really crazy ending. There's at one point where Billy says that it seems like somebody has trained this shark to attack and kill, and
Yes.
then they start talking about the SS Cleveland, the wreckage.
Cleveland. I guess that takes place the USS Indianapolis.
What I thought was going to happen is that we were going to find out that this shark was being transported on the Cleveland as some sort of government experiment to use against other naval forces. Like
How badass would that have been?
That would have been amazing.
Right.
But nope, they just drop it. Nothing ever happens with that line.
Nope. I think that's where Deep Blue Sea got their motivation for. Right? Like,
Yeah.
Guys, I saw this great movie. We got to copy it. Get Samuel L. Jackson in here. It's going to be great.
Oh, man. So, Cruel Jaws is directed by Bruno Mattei, also known as William Snyder. He is an Italian director known for Shocking Dark, which was originally called Terminator 2. Also known for Strike Commando 2, Robo War, Women's Camp 119, Private House of the SS, and some softcore stuff as well. He's got a very long list of movies to his name. Most of them schlocky exploitation movies. Stars David Luther, George Barnes Jr., Scott Silveria, Kirsten Urso, Richard Dew, Greg Hood, Sky Palma, Carter Collins, and Natasha Etzer. IMDb score of 3.2, Rotten Tomato score of 18%, and I couldn't find any budget or box office numbers for it. But I had a great time with this movie. It's so silly that it's out of this world. That's as I'm looking at a vinyl of the Jaws original soundtrack. It just pays such great homage to the great movie, also known as just stealing things entirely from it.
Right. I was just say if you call paying homage stealing, then yes, that's what it's doing. I think for the first half of this movie, I really enjoyed it, but then it just it dragged because there's obviously we're gonna keep referring to Jaws. You have that the final act is Quint, Hooper, and Brody on the orca hunting the shark. They do that several times in this movie.
Yeah.
And at that point, I really stopped caring because I couldn't tell who was doing what.
Sure.
And they hunt with a shotgun.
They do. No harpoons or anything like that. Just shotguns.
It's just straight shot. 12 gauge. Nice. That's a line from the movie.
Yeah. The sheriff at one point is in the helicopter shooting with an assault rifle that is the fakest looking assault rifle ever.
The scope is closed.
Yeah.
It's a plastic scope.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a rubber gun.
Yeah. I wrote that down. Shooting a rifle with no scope. And I guess they took a scene. Did Jaws 4 come out yet?
Yes. So apparently this came out in 1995, which
bullshit.
This man 1978.
Yeah. Jen and I kept saying that. She's like, when was this made? Like, it says 95. It's not 95. Well, I mean, that's what it says. Like, no, they just talked about going to the disco. Oh, yeah, you're right.
There is nothing in this movie that indicates this was made later than 1986.
So why did they lie? Like, what do they stand to gain from that?
I don't know.
Or is it like just lost to time and they made up 95? Why not?
I don't know. It's wild. You want to get into the plot?
Sure.
All right. What do you got for us this week?
I'm going to give a shout out to our friend Tia, as we usually do. You could follow her at TC_Stark on Twitter. She hosts a podcast called The Top 10 with Tia. Her and her co-host Brittany get together and they discuss top 10 lists. So go follow her there. You could also follow, I think Brittany streams on Twitch, Itty Bitty Britty. I want to make sure I'm getting that right because that's very dangerous to say. Go follow her there. She games. She's very good. Plays a ton, like Pokemon, stuff like that. Go follow her there. Tia also writes for Geek Vibes Nation. She's the head writer. So go check out some of her articles, and again, just give her a follow.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, but you are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back, and now it's time to get into Cruel Jaws. We open with zero foreplay as this movie just sort of starts out of nowhere. A group of guys are out on a boat late at night to basically loot a sunken ship. They were top secret Navy material aboard the Cleveland, and that's where they're going, as we learn from an incredible actor. Then we cut to some diving footage that's probably stolen, but we don't have any proof, as the boat captain gets good and liquored up. The divers dive into a cave within some coral, and then Cruel Jaws shows up and starts acting a fool, trying to get at them.
I was not expecting you to call it Cruel Jaws. Oh, that's great.
What else would you call them?
I always thought that they were just gonna say, now I wish they would like, oh, this fish is cruel. It's as cruel as the sea itself.
What if this movie just referenced Jaws every time? It's like, oh, it's just like that movie Jaws.
That would have been so much better. It's like breaking the fourth wall. It knows.
Yeah.
Did you see that movie Jaws? Well, this is what they did in that movie.
This exact thing happened in that movie Jaws.
So I'm gonna take my mother's roast, like they did in Jaws. We're gonna try to hook the shark with this.
Right? Because it feels like, because they crib so many things from Jaws, and that's specifically the roast thing. It's like, if these characters existed, they've seen this, they're getting that tactic from Jaws itself, right?
That would be the only explanation. Because why else are they doing it that way?
Just everybody's got 30 pounds of roast in their fridge because it's thawed.
First of all, that's just like they went to the slaughterhouse, butchered themselves a cow, and then they just took the cow from the slaughterhouse to the sea. It's like, oh, this is my mother's roast. No, it isn't. That's a hunk of meat like you just got somewhere.
Like entrails dangling off of it.
It's the worst roast I've ever seen in my life.
So the divers dive into a cave, and then after like a minute and a half, the captain gets on the walkie to tell them that they only have about 3 minutes of air left, which seems like poor planning.
Yep.
And then some incomprehensible series of shots rapidly cut to mask the fact that there's no footage of the shark attack, but rest assured, these divers are probably dead. Then we cut to a nerdy dude and his attractive girlfriend driving an RV through the gorgeous landscapes of Panhandle, Florida. They go to some sort of backyard SeaWorld run by Hulk Hogan's stunt double, and they see a little girl playing with a pair of dolphins. The girl greets them, and she comes out of the water, and it's revealed that she's in a wheelchair, a fact neither of these characters can hide their sadness about. There's no poker faces.
Jen, while we were watching, Jen goes, why does she need help getting out? What's the deal? And then immediately puts her like, oh, don't you feel like a jerk? Well, I didn't know. That's why you don't judge. You never judge.
And then a moment that I didn't mention, there's a scene, like right after that, there's a scene of Billy, Dag, and Bob and Larry walking that starts entirely too early. Like you see them like standing still for a minute, for like a quick second, and then they start walking and they start the scene.
Yeah, they're on their mark.
Yeah.
And someone forgot to tell them to go.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the camera's rolling. Go.
And then we find out our nerdy guy's name is Billy, and then Susie's the girl in the wheelchair. Dag is her father, which is Hulk Hogan's stunt double. And she was paralyzed in an accident that claimed her mother's life and left him suicidal, which he is not ashamed to say.
He doesn't seem suicidal.
Yeah, he just says he lost the will to live.
And very casually.
Oh, yeah. He just,
She left me with no will to live. Maybe you should get some help for that. Well, that's why I have
90s.
seals.
Fuck you. Then Dag drops the fact that he's basically failing in his business, and then right on cue, the sheriff shows up to serve Dag an eviction. And then Larry threatens to rip off the balls of Sam Lewis, who's some rich guy but must own the land. And then they just change the subject out of nowhere as Billy talks about his research projects with the sheriff, and they're all really buddy-buddy. Then we cut to, immediately right after that, some sexy teens up to some beach shenanigans when a couple of them come across the dead body of one of the divers. And then we see the sheriff showing Billy the dead body on the beach, and they spew some dialogue straight out of Jaws as they argue about whether it was a speedboat propeller or a shark. But Billy says an autopsy is the only way to know for sure. So immediately cut to the autopsy, which confirms a shark attack. And then smash cut to Sam Lewis doing his best Mayor from Jaws impression. It's one of the most inspired editing choices ever.
Remember earlier in the podcast we talked about how the edits kind of step on each other and there were some things you could cut out. At the beginning of the autopsy scene, they take a minute to rub like the aloe vera on their nose, I guess to block the scent.
Right, like the Vicks rub or something.
Yeah, which is all well and good in real life, but we don't need to see that.
We don't need to see 3 people apply it, right?
Right. Yeah, just very gingerly doing it, like very like so much purpose, like digging in there that the cop like really puts some on. It's like war paint for him.
And then the autopsy is all of like 7 seconds long.
Right. Yeah, it holds no weight.
Yeah. It's not even an autopsy. He just opens the bag. It's like, yep, that's a shark attack.
Right. In Jaws, it has like you're first introduced to Hooper pretty much there.
Yeah.
And you could tell this guy he knows what he's talking about. Here it's just a quick gloss over. Yeah, that's a shark attack, all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all like the first 8 minutes or so. They go through this quick.
Yeah.
So then smash cut to Sam Lewis. He's trying to convince the sheriff that it was just a boating accident. Hey, that sounds familiar. But Billy says it could only have been done by a tiger shark. And then smash cut to a sexy bikini babe on the beach. We get introduced to some more sexy teens, including Ronnie, some square-chinned rich kid that's the son of Sam Lewis. His sister Gloria is hot for Bob, Dag's son, who looks a bit like Billy Zane. Then Ronnie's friend sexually harasses some girls and gets called Dick Brain for his troubles.
Oh, what is it? Is he the Pussy Patrol?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a great line. And then the girls are like totally okay with it, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so silly. Like today, that doesn't fly, man.
Yeah. And then they call him Dick Brain.
Yeah. Which he was.
Yeah.
And not a very good looking like bully. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like he would be the like getting bullied.
Right.
Not the bully.
I don't remember this guy's name. Tommy, I think. I think it's Tommy.
And he makes it pretty far into the movie, I think.
Yep.
I think he lives.
I think so.
It's ridiculous.
No, he winds up on the boat at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might have missed when he died. Does he die like spectacularly?
He dies with the rest of them. He's the one. He shoots the flare at the shark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Taken from Jaws 2, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that ends a little bit better for everybody than Jaws 2. Ronnie goes home to his dad, who tells him about the supposed shark attack. Whose dad, again, is Sam Lewis. Ronnie convinces his dad that Dag is behind it as payback for the eviction, and tells his dad that Bob and Gloria are getting cozy. So then Sam threatens to rip Bob's balls off, and then Ronnie says, "Don't worry about it. I got it taken care of." Then we get 2 unidentified sexy beachgoers. One, the guy looking like Alexander Godunov from Die Hard, who go out for some quote-unquote night swimming and some of the least convincing day for night photography ever.
Is this when she wants to bang him but only in the water?
Yeah, this is
like,
the Chrissy scene. They reenact the Chrissy death scene.
Right, but he has a great reason for not going. Like, it's freezing. Like, I'm not going in there. I'm not going to bang you there. What's wrong with on the beach?
Yes. But this isn't at night, really. This was shot at probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they just threw a blue filter on.
Yeah. Oh man, it's
Which
just
all
such a
of
great
the night
reason.
shoot is exactly like this.
I love that scene just for the reason that it's too cold to go in and bang this chick.
Yeah. Then they reenact the Chrissy death scene. And at the aquarium, Gloria and Susie feed the dolphins. And then Dag says it's time for Susie to go to bed because it's quote unquote nighttime.
It's something resembling nighttime.
Yeah. Bob and Gloria go to the beach to talk and kiss, but then Ronnie shows up with a couple of goons. First he slaps his sister and tells her to go home, then he beats up Billy. Luckily, all of this is happening in the cover of midday, otherwise someone might have seen. So then Ronnie and his goons go to the aquarium and try to feed the dolphins fish with rat poison. But the dolphins start making noise, so Ronnie and his buddies run off, leaving a bag of poisoned fish behind. But they do manage to throw in one of the fish that's been poisoned. So Dag finds the bag and tells Bob to get Billy. And at the police station, the sheriff sees Alexander Godunov in a catatonic state. One of the officers tell him that he says his girlfriend was eaten by a shark, which this officer happens to find hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'll just throw him in the drunk tank. No! People don't come in making up stories about their girlfriends being eaten by sharks, you jerk.
Yeah. Like, what do you think he was drinking?
Right. He's clearly in a state of shock.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this guy's a fool. What? Anything to not do your job, am I right?
A cab man.
Yep, big time here.
Back at the aquarium, one of the dolphins that has eaten the fresh fish, so Billy had a vet check on it. While it doesn't look good, they say it's going to be fine. Billy then unprovoked decides to watch a slideshow about sharks, and the sheriff shows up to tell him that there's been another shark attack. And I guess he can't copyright dialogue or something because they lift lines directly from Jaws once again. All they know how to do is eat, swim, and make little baby sharks, was the exact line. At the aquarium, Sam shows up with some investors, and he tells Dag if he leaves the premises immediately, he'd pay him off. He'd give him a nice little lump sum of cash to kind of close up shop.
So talking about like lifting lines straight from the movie, what's one line from Jaws that you wish they had put into this movie with no context?
Good question. Oh, the fisherman on the pier that when Hooper tells him it's a tiger shark.
A what?
A what?
Gentlemen, could you point me in the direction of a nice restaurant? Yeah, walk straight. We're all gonna die. That would have been pretty funny. Oh, because they do have the tiger shark in this.
Yep.
Oh, right, and they're saying that the only way you're gonna find out is if you cut open this shark
And see what it's eating.
Yeah.
And he even goes, it's probably the shark, just like Hooper does.
Who knows? It probably is. It probably is very rare for these waters. It's a predator. It's extremely rare for these waters. But you want to be sure. I want to be sure. But there's no Kittner kid to spill across the docks, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Dag threatens Sam because he thinks he was behind the dolphin poisoning. And then Sam threatens to put Bob in a wheelchair, just like Susie, if he doesn't stay away from Gloria. His exact line is, if your son doesn't stay away from my daughter, you're going to have to buy another wheelchair.
It's a pretty good line. I mean, that's a really shitty thing to say to somebody, but that really gets the point across.
With his paralyzed daughter sitting right there.
This total 80s villain line. It's a good line, though, right? If you really want to come across as, like, you mean business?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck that your crippled daughter's right there. I'll say it. I'm rich.
I think Sam Lewis is day drunk throughout this entire movie.
So he's Robert Shaw.
Yeah, because he's always got a tie on, but it's always just a little bit undone.
That's what I wrote, that the only thing missing from this movie is just the ridiculous suits that the mayor had. Yeah. That's what this movie needed.
And then a seal comes over and knocks Sam into the water. And then sometime later, the mayor's office, Sam and the sheriff meet up. Sam calls him obsessed about the shark, and the sheriff has one of my favorite line readings of this movie when he says, "Obsessed my ass."
You can't talk to me that way.
The sheriff wants him to close the beach. That sounds familiar. But then Sam says he'll pay for all the provisions in order to protect the regatta. Which, to be honest with you, if you're going to keep the beach open, the plan is decent.
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's a well thought out plan.
Right. I mean, they have helicopters patrolling, extra police, and they have the fishnets, right? They have the cage kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they're taking precaution. It's not just saying, yeah, throwing caution to the wind here.
Right. They do more than the mayor in Jaws does.
Exponentially more.
Yeah. So then Billy is about to go to Pound Town with his girlfriend Vanessa, but then the sheriff shows up saying he needs help with the shark cages that just showed up. And they forgot the mics on this particular day of filming. And Vanessa freaks out, first giving Billy an ultimatum, and then tells Billy to throw himself off a skyscraper, then fuck himself, in that order. Then she leaves with her friend Glenda. Then Dag, meanwhile, reads Susie a bedtime story, and she falls asleep like she's being put to sleep.
Just a weird scene.
Which is a scene that does not need to happen at all.
But you love it. You said this is your favorite scene.
The way the little girl decides that she would fall asleep at this moment is just so inspired. the only way you can call it is inspired.
I feel like was this scene just kind of added in because it needed to fill out the runtime?
I guess. I feel like it's like not. How long is this?
It's an hour 34.
So you could have did a 90-minute movie without that scene.
Yeah.
You could have lost 4 minutes.
Like, what purpose does that scene serve, realistically?
Nothing. I don't even remember.
Right?
They have a little conversation before she pretends to sleep. Like, that's what it is. It feels like it's a little girl that's like, oh my God, Dad's coming. Pretend to be asleep, right?
Right.
This will be cute. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, it's very off-putting.
And then Vanessa and Glenda show up at the dance party, and Ronnie and his friends start sniffing around them immediately. Glenda knees Ronnie's buddy in the nuts, which seems like an overreaction for bad dancing. And Vanessa runs off to the beach with Ronnie.
I forgot about that scene. The dancing. That's from Jaws 3D.
Yes.
Right? They have like a dancing scene. Oh,
that's right.
One of the worst scenes from that movie into this movie.
Yeah. And then the beach of Vanessa runs off to the beach with Ronnie. The beach of passion, as Glenda calls it. Because Billy shows up looking for Vanessa, but she's already headed to the beach with Ronnie. Also on the beach, Gloria and Bob are meeting in secret on the beach under the cover of mid-morning. They're sad because Bob will have to move away if his dad loses the aquarium. And then Vanessa and Ronnie do the annoying giggling thing on the beach, chasing after each other until they wind up in the water. Then Glenda and Michael show up, or I think his name is Tommy. His name is not Michael. Tommy. I took a guess. I took a stab at a generic name, but it wound up being Tommy. Show up and pretend they're the police. Then a shark is coming for Ronnie and Vanessa as they run out of the water, but they never realize it. Then later, the sheriff talks to reporters about the plan to secure the beaches, which seems like a pretty sound plan, more than any plan they enact in Jaws. We've got patrol boats, we've got helicopters, we've got cages. As the sheriff watches from the beach, he has to deal with a tourist asking him about the shark, and if this is the beach where the shark is on. It's a weird comic relief moment.
Are they British?
They're either British or Australian. I couldn't really read the accent, but yes.
Yeah, because it kind of goes back and forth a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And why is it just one tourist?
Yeah.
I had written down like if they're Australian or British, because they're like, oh, we came all the way here to see the shark. You came all the way from England?
Yeah.
To see a shark? That's a little excessive, friend.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then they stake out right next to the police watch out.
Yep.
That's where they put their picnic down.
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, I think they're gonna go now. It's like some weird paparazzi.
Let's follow this cop. So there's a cop in the helicopter patrolling, and they see the shark, so they shoot at it, and they think they killed it, so they radio in for everyone to retrieve it. They take the shark out of the water, and Billy isn't quite sure that it's the shark that killed those people. Hey, that sounds familiar. And Billy says the only way to be sure is to cut open the shark and see what it's eaten. Hey, that sounds familiar.
Does he say the bite radius doesn't match?
He doesn't say those exact lines. He says the jaw size or something like that.
Okay. But same type of...
Same idea.
Yeah. That sounds familiar. Yeah, it definitely does.
And then the Coast Guard drags in the boat from the beginning, and Sam Lewis says that it was just an accident, and they need to get rid of the shark carcass. And then the regatta show happens. Sam Lewis has his own cheerleaders for some reason, and hey, we get a Confederate flag on one of the boats.
Well, yeah, 90s Florida.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And Bob and Ronnie get their respective windsurf boards and gear. Billy throws out the crazy theory that it's almost as if someone has trained the shark to attack and kill, and I really wish that were the case.
Yeah, they really should have leaned more heavily onto that idea.
Yeah. And then Vanessa shows up looking for Billy like she wasn't about to bang Ronnie in the water the night before. Then Ronnie sees Bob and Gloria get cozy and threatens to rip Bob's balls off. Third time someone's balls are threatened to be ripped off. Then the race begins and Ronnie and Bob are right on top of each other. Meanwhile, the shark is trying to break into the regatta. And it does. Ronnie knocks Bob off his board. And then everyone on shore sees the shark who starts wrecking people. Though it's such a mishmash of shots, it's impossible to tell who gets attacked. And Ronnie has a hilarious fall off of his board.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And then just straight chaos ensues. People push each other into the water. Docs get pulled into the water. Vanessa pushes Susie's wheelchair into the water and then goes in after her. Billy doesn't quite help Vanessa out of the water and she screams and we cut away. At the hospital, Susie is all right, but she's in shock. Hey, that sounds familiar.
I was waiting for her to say she wanted ice cream. Coffee flavored.
Dag tells her that Vanessa is going to be okay. Dag, the sheriff, and Billy confront Sam Lewis, who shows up at the hospital. They tell Sam that he has to offer a $100,000 reward to kill the shark, and Billy reveals that Vanessa was killed by the shark. Dag and Billy give the rundown. Then Dag and Billy give the rundown about sharks to Ronnie and his friends before they go shark hunting, with some dialogue vaguely reminiscent of Jaws. And then, what I was hoping would be the reveal of the quint of this movie, it just turns out to be some sort of mob enforcer putting the screws on Sam Lewis. Ronnie and his friends load up Sam's boat with some guns. Dag, Bob, and Billy also send out their boat as well. And during this moment, there's no other way to describe it. The Star Wars theme plays.
It's the very beginning, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It's weird because it does the well up. And then it trails off into a different song. Like it crescendos up to the original theme. And then kind of like, oh shit, we can't play this. And it needs to be somewhat different.
And
it happens more than once.
Yep.
So that's not one movie that they rip off. That's a second movie that they take. I had to rewind it. I was like, wait a minute. That couldn't have been quick rewind. That's Star Wars.
Yep.
How did they not get
one Johnny Williams after another?
Right. How did they not get sued into oblivion?
It's fascinating.
I guess
it's one of the many fascinating things about this movie.
What's his name? Must have had some pictures on these people. He had some dirt.
Yeah. And once they're on the boat, it's evident that Dag is the quint of this movie, which is disappointing, as he says dialogue directly lifted from Jaws. Ronnie is
great said brother at the end of them.
What was that?
It would have been great if he just put the word brother at the end of them.
Yeah, because he's making
caught underneath the boat, brother.
He's making fun of Billy's equipment. Like, I don't know what this job's gonna do about that. Probably eat
it. Piano wire. What is it? Stingray chew right through this piano wire. Don't tell me my business, brother.
Ronnie and his goons see the shark and start shooting at it. I kind of love how this movie has what is basically Johnny Lawrence in a Jaws movie.
He gets a clear shot with the shotgun, and he, for some reason, he hesitates.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's never explained. Is it supposed to be he's terrified?
I guess.
Shoot it! Shoot it!
They do the whole mother's roast thing for the fishing of the shark. Eventually, Ronnie tries to shoot at the shark. The shark attacks the boat. Ronnie falls into the water, and then his idiot friends blow themselves up by combining an emergency flare and gasoline. Then, Dag's boats get stuck, so Bob goes under the boat to unstick the rudder, which has somehow gotten a rope tied around it. And it turns out they're right on top of the Cleveland wreckage. And the Coast Guard calls all the boats into the area. Sheriff boards a helicopter and heads to find the shark. And they do the whole mother's roasts from the helicopter thing again. And the helicopter pilot says, "You're going to need a bigger helicopter."
Oh, boo.
The shark catches the line and the helicopter starts to struggle against the weight of the shark. The sheriff takes what can only be a rubber assault rifle and shoots at the shark. But the shark manages to pull the helicopter out of the air and the shark falls into the water hilariously.
The problem is it's all like when we say the shark, we really mean like quick shots of the shark's teeth.
Yes.
And just chaos.
Yes.
You never really get a clean shot of the shark.
Every shark attack is very abstract.
Yes. They took the whole idea that what you can't see is scary and kind of put it to 11 because they didn't have the budget to do this.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, man, everything is the shark. Anytime we zoom into the water, that's the fucking shark. There's no mystery.
So then the mob guy shows back up at the Lewis household, and he's putting his two best men in charge of capturing the shark, some sort of greaser and a Jimmy Buffett fan. Gloria hears her dad talking to the mob guy and goes to warn Dag about it, and Sam slaps the shit out of her and forces her back into her room. Dag, Billy, and Bob look over some maps. Billy says he thinks the shark lives in the Cleveland wreckage, and his plan is to fill the wreckage with dynamite and blow it up with the shark. Then all of a sudden, Gloria sneaks out of the house and shows up and makes it to Dag to tell him that the goons are putting them in danger because they're there to wipe them out, basically, to get them off the property. So they go running to make sure Gloria and the aquarium are okay, and then Billy stops, thinks about going to take the map with him, but then decides against it and runs out. It was such a weird moment where, like, he runs out the room, then comes back in. He's like, oh, maybe I should take the map. He's like, no, I'm going to leave it.
Whatever. I'll figure it out. And also, I might have missed this in The Godfather. Does the Italian mob have extensive training on taking out sharks?
I don't remember that scene in Godfather. Maybe
Right,
the new
yeah.
Godfather 3 cut
Like-
shows it.
Like Mr. Green doesn't take out one of Don Corleone's sharks. Does that happen? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I'm Mo Green.
Yeah. Like I get that they're taking the part of the book, like we said earlier, the part of the book where the mafia just is really like putting the screws to the mayor.
Yeah.
But that's all it really needed to be here. You don't need it to go any further than, hey, if you don't open up this city or this town, we're gonna have problems.
Yes.
Ugh.
And if this movie wasn't already ridiculous, these two guys make it that much more ridiculous.
Yeah. It's what Legs and from The Simpsons, Legs and who are the Fat Tony, pretty much.
I can't think of the other guy.
Yeah, I just know the one guy who has the squeaky voice. That's like the high pitched voice is Legs, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want me to? Should I take him out gangland style or executionist style?
Surprise me.
Listen to your heart.
Yeah, the other one's the one that says, I'm seeing double, full crusties. Which
Yeah,
might be
that
the
is-
greatest joke in Simpsons history.
It's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know his name though.
Yeah. As they run across the street, the two mob goons see them run by, so they go to where Dag and his crews were running from. They steal the map, the one that Billy thought about going back to get, but then left, and then manage to knock out Bob and Larry and sabotage Dag's boat. Then the mob doofuses board a boat and set out to find the shark, one of the guys wearing the tightest spandex ever. Meanwhile, Dag is dealing with their sabotage, but then he hits the engine once with a wrench and it starts to work again. It's Dag and his crew say goodbye to Susie and Gloria and head off. The mob doofus' plan is undone immediately, as there really doesn't seem to be much of a plan, because the one that goes diving for the shark immediately gets eaten, and the one on the boat also just gets eaten. And then Dag and Billy's boat hit the open water, and the Star Wars theme plays again. Dag and Bob prepare some dynamite as Billy and Larry navigate back to the Cleveland wreckage. They drop anchor, and Billy, Bob, and Larry dive to set the dynamite in the wreckage. So we watch the guys set the dynamite and charges in languid detail, bringing this movie, which was constantly at a chaotic pace, to an absolute screeching halt. Meanwhile, Dag cracks a beer and spots the shark finally. So he starts shooting at the shark, and the shark swims away. Guys make it back to the boat, except for Billy. Billy is still in the wreckage for some reason, though it's also unclear to see because of the manic editing. So then Bob decides that he's going to go get him without wearing his full scuba suit, which can't make it any easier. But eventually he finds Billy and gets him out of there, but then sees the fuse has broken, so he has to stay behind to tie it as the shark is bearing down on him. He gets out just in time, and the shark blows up in a few different shots that are borrowed from other movies. And our heroes cheer as the shark explodes into a million pieces.
But they don't see it.
No, we never see it. Just stock footage of it blowing up.
It's great when the shark blows up. It's kind of like it's basically like someone glued the puppet in two pieces.
Yeah.
And then just pulled it apart. Just boop. Just like nice little perfect explosion. Just like, you know, in Jaws when he blows up, there's chunks of shark everywhere. This is just a clean little boop. They're gone.
Split them in twain.
Oh, it's terrible. I love it.
And then they celebrate Dag's aquarium as Sam Lewis presents Dag a check for the reward money before he gets pushed into the water thanks to a seal. And then, as Dan mentioned, we end on a close-up of a little girl's face smiling who is in desperate need of a pair of braces.
It's the worst ending shot of all time, I think. Because
And-
they close in on two different people, right? So it's like the girl in the wheelchair and then someone else. And
It's
then
Hogan.
back, yes. And then back to the girl in the wheelchair and her jacked up teeth. Why would you end it there?
The poor girl. Yeah, like we didn't know her teeth were jacked up until that very moment.
Right. Yeah, that poor girl. Like, why you gotta do her dirty like that, man?
And that's the end of Cruel Jaws. What a wild, wild movie.
It was a ride. It was something.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it.
I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was so weird, and they packed so much in,
Yes, too much.
way too much, and then it like at the last 10 minutes it just stops, and it's so much just diving footage.
Yeah. And I agree. I think if you were gonna go for it, like they really should have went with the whole, this shark was trained by like some military or scientist to go after other countries' scuba divers or whatever. But yeah, you really should lean into that because that's fucking crazy.
That would be amazing. I really thought
This
that was going
movie's
to be
crazy.
it. I thought there was going to be a twist. It was going to be like, oh my god, like Sam Lewis was behind it all along or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would have at least separated you from Jaws
Mm-hmm.
a little bit.
Yeah. It's also weird that Sam Lewis doesn't really get his comeuppance.
That's a good point.
He gets pushed into the pool. Although I guess the mayor never gets his comeuppance because I think he might even get reelected.
Yeah,
Jaws.
he's both in Jaws and Jaws 2.
Yeah,
So, but I think in Jaws 2 he's a little bit more cautious, right?
I think so.
He like when Brody is saying shark again, I think he is a little bit more not as much of a dick.
Sure.
But yeah, he doesn't really. His son almost gets eaten by the shark, but that's about it.
The mayor?
Yeah, my kid was in that pond too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam Lewis kid gets blowed up. And he doesn't act like that happened.
Yeah, I guess we were running out of time.
Yeah. But yeah, this was fun. If you like Jaws, this is just a fascinating watch because it's unapologetic in just the sheer fact that it's stealing things from such a classic.
Yeah, I do like how he doesn't just take one piece, he takes several.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it could have been so easy to just say, yeah, I'm gonna take a couple things here and there. It's like, nope, we're pretty much remaking Jaws.
Yeah. We dare you to sue us.
You're right. And he's Italian, so he's like, I guess he's just, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Come at me, Steven Spielberg.
Good luck suing me from another country, basically.
Right. Yeah. Again, there were parts that I really enjoyed and I had fun watching. And then there were other parts where I just, I would check the time. Like, wow, I can't believe I still have X amount of time left.
Mm.
And I can't believe they're still ripping this off. And I can't believe I heard the Star Wars theme twice.
It's a nice little treat that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, that's true. The first time, that was fun. And then the second time, it's like, they did it again. What was the point of that? And the music cue doesn't really match up.
No.
Because they're just like, they're getting ready to set sail. And then all of a sudden, dun, 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 dun. What is going on here? It's not quite as epic as they wanted it to be, I think.
Yeah. That's all I got to say. You want to plug your shit?
Sure. Again, at DeAquino122, my Twitter. Also, I'll do Mark's little rundown here. At Stranger Damies is our Twitter and Instagram handle. Come follow us there. We have new episodes every Wednesday, and we are on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcast from, we're there. We also are streaming our sessions now. We do that on Game Vault Pod. I don't know the exact.
Twitch.tv/GameVaultPod.
There you go. So yeah, we're on the Game Vault Pod. So just do that. Twitch.tv.GameVaultPod/GameVaultPod. Anthony just said it. I fucked it up already. Regardless, we stream there on Sundays. Just check the Twitter and you'll see that, and go follow Game Vault Pod as well at Game Vault Pod on Twitter. and on Instagram. They talk a lot about cool video games, and that's Mark, my wife Jen, and our friend Tom, who are also a part of Stranger Damies. So go check it out.
Great. Yes, and we are They Call This Movie. You can find us on Spreaker and wherever you get your podcast just by searching They Call This a Movie. We are themaindamie.com. That's our main website where we post all our podcasts, including Stranger Damies and Gay Vault Pod. You can find it at themaindamie.com, and that's also our socials. So at The Main Damie is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look for The Main Damie and we will pop right up. We're also proud member Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gbnation.com and on all socials and all podcast streaming apps just by looking for Geek Vibes Nation. Tons of great shows. Us, Top 10 with Tia, Scene and Nerd, kind of nerdy girls. Bunch of great shows. If you're into geek stuff, surely there is a show for you. If you're into the Snyder Cut, I know there's probably going to be a whole bunch of reviews from them because they're excited for it.
We're not covering it, right?
I'm not.
Yeah, I have no plans on watching it, and
I don't have HBO Max anymore, so I can't.
Yeah, I do. I can't sit for 4 hours and watch something like that.
Yep. So it's gonna go on the shelf with The Irishman, Silence, movies that just I'm not watching because they're way too long. But that's gonna wrap it up for us. For Cruel Jaws, the director is Bruno Mattei, also known as William Snyder. So for Dan, the aforementioned Mark, who is no longer with us for today, maybe he'll be back next week. This is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Bruno Mattei, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you?